The latest Pompey news, updates every day from the Pompey Sound news desk.
Ipswich forward Connor CHAPLIN is set to return to Portsmouth on loan for the rest of the season. CHAPLIN, 28, has been a key player in Kieran McKenna's back-to-back promotion-winning side, having signed for his old Pompey boss Paul Cook from Barnsley in the summer of 2021. It's understood there is a recall clause in the deal which could see the attacker come back to Portman Road in January. However, with his contract up next summer, it may be that CHAPLIN played his last game for the Blues against Derby at the weekend.
This one came a little bit out of the blue, didn't it? Steve Bone's been on the line to us and he says he thinks it's brilliant. It's going to be one that the fans will absolutely love. He is, of course, pretty much a local boy, born in Worthing and signed to Portsmouth's academy, played in pretty much all of our youth categories. He joined the club at the age of 6 and he was offered a 2-year scholarship contract in July 2013. He's still only 28. Those who saw him play will remember him well. He's not the most physically overpowering figure on the pitch. 5'6" he stands, but he puts himself about and he keeps himself busy. He's an attacking midfield player, and I suppose you'd say number 10 these days, or possibly an attacking 8 on one or either side of the number 10. He played 104 times for us. Scored a respectable 22 goals. We loaned him to Coventry. Coventry signed him up. He then went to Barnsley, where he had a couple of years, 78 appearances, 15 goals, and then on to Ipswich, where he was really quite prolific for a midfielder. 151 games, 49 goals. That's a goal every 3 games. That's a pretty good return, and we'll take plenty of that. So that could well be business done. Remember, this isn't an official one yet. This is not an official loan signing, but it seems as though they're talking about it in Ipswich as if it's a done deal, and we're beginning to talk of it as a done deal. So that is 3 in, 1 out. But there's still time. There's still 2 hours of the window left. And as Steve Bone pointed out to us, we're all now really on the edge of our seats in case there's something cooking with Josh Murphy and the various clubs that are interested in him. So fingers crossed that one fizzles out. The clever money is saying that Pompey have signed Franco UMEH, but that it hasn't been announced yet. So on that basis, who is this man? So who is Franco UMEH? Well, full name Franco UMEH Chibueze. He is an Irish professional footballer who plays as winger or forward for Crystal Palace. But now he is with Pompey. He started his career at Cork City and signed a professional contract with a €75,000 release clause in 2022. And that year he made his senior debut for the club as a 17-year-old in June 2022 against Longford Town. He joined Crystal Palace as soon as he turned 18 in January 2023. More about that in just a second. He was part of the Palace team which won the Premier League International Cup, scoring the only goal in a 1-0 win over Young PSV in May 2024. Then he was called up to the Crystal Palace first team squad, and he remained on the subs bench but didn't get on for Crystal Palace subsequently. He stayed there. He stayed part of the first team squad, often on the bench, never got thrown out onto the pitch. Internationally, he's played under-17s, under-18s, under-19s, under-21s for the Republic of Ireland with a good goal-scoring record, 25 appearances across those age groups, 8 goals. He is a goal-scoring forward, but not as prolific as his younger brother, Jayden, who is with Benfica. Why is he with Benfica when he's made it clear that he wants to stay as close to his brother as possible? The Irish press are full of stories, reportage, that these two guys are absolutely an item. 2 brothers who want to play for the same team. They want to play in the same Ireland team together. They would definitely room together if they were both playing for the same club, which until this week might have been Crystal Palace. But Jayden can't, because he's not yet 18. And you can't sign professional deals with an English football club if you are from abroad until you are 18, and he can go and play in Portugal, which is what he's doing now. He's with Benfica. This is our Franco's younger brother, because of Brexit. It's one of the many, many, many red tape things that came in without anybody realising they were going to come in when we underwent Brexit. So we are waiting on his 18th birthday before, no doubt, whatever contract he's got with Benfica, he will be looking for an English club. He scores even more goals than his brother, our Franco. He's a real hot prospect. And, wouldn't it be nice to have two such youngsters on our books, living down here? Dream on. We got one. We'll have to make do with that.
Pompey have signed 25-year-old goalkeeper Josip Brsic from Club Bruges for an undisclosed fee, subject to international clearance. The former England youth international, who has represented his country up to under-21 level, has agreed a 2-year deal with the club. Blues boss John Messineo said, "He's someone who showed a lot of promise as a youngster and has played plenty of championship games. Joseph really bolsters the options we've got in the goalkeeping department, and is a target that's been in our sights for a while now, so we're delighted to get the deal done." Brsic is a graduate of Stokes Academy and gained experience with spells on loan at Hednesford, Telford, Accrington, Doncaster, Peterborough and Lincoln earlier in his career. He made 53 appearances for the Potters before heading to Belgium to sign for Club Bruges in January 2023. Brsic spent last season on loan at Hibernian in the Scottish Premiership and featured 17 times for the Edinburgh outfit. He was part of the England side that lost the final of the European U17 Championship in 2017, before winning the World Cup later that year. Brsic then kept a clean sheet on his debut for the under-21s in 2020.
The new man was asked about his name and his origins.
"It's a Czech name from my dad's side of the family," Brsic Jr. explains. "I'm named after my granddad actually, who was a bit of a hero in the Czech army in the Second World War. It's an honor to be named after him. He was a tank commander, and I think he was the first tank to liberate Kiev. He's a bit of a big figure. Before, when you searched my name, it would come up as my granddad. Somehow I've overtaken him, but you still see my granddad up there. What a man." Brsic Sr. received the Czech War Cross for bravery in battle in 1939, the Order of the Red Star for bravery at Sokolov, and Lenin's Order for heroism at Kiev, where he was one of the first to reach the city center. He had come under heavy attack from defending Nazis, but he ordered 3 tanks to shell the surroundings of a factory that was a stronghold, while he crashed through the gates to destroy a truck laden with explosives. But he was not a communist. "During my stay in the Soviet Union, I was convinced that the Russian man is not a free man, and that he must unconditionally obey the orders of the Communist Party," he said, and that spelled trouble. He tried to leave the army in 1949. He was sent to notorious Mirov prison for alleged high treason. He launched an appeal, and saw his 10-year term increased by 4 years, which was virtually a death sentence when he was diagnosed with tuberculosis. He was transferred to Olomouc Hospital for treatment in 1950, and managed to race over the border to Bavaria in what sounds like a scene from The Great Escape. Brsic managed to get a spare room key, and the doctor who helped him, Vladimir Bor, gave him fever injections, said historian Radan Holasek. He thus looked in a very bad condition and was not guarded overnight. He was only locked in his room. Originally, an ambulance was supposed to take him and his wife, but in the end it was not possible to arrange it, so they got away on a motorcycle. They lived in Germany until 1955 when they moved to the UK, and Brsic's name and photographs were erased from Czech history. He received proper treatment for his TB and lived to see the fall of communism and the subsequent restoration of all his honours. When he died in Northampton in 2002, he was also awarded the Order of the White Lion, the highest honour in the Czech Republic. It is a remarkable journey and family story for which Brsic Jr. is writing the next chapter.
Wow. So welcome, Joseph Brsic, and respect to your granddad.
Pompey's troubled relationship with Abdoulaye Kamara has finally drawn to a close, with the midfielder cutting his ties at Fratton Park to join German side FC Saarbrücken. The former Borussia Dortmund youngster, who still had 3 years left on his Portsmouth contract, has agreed to a mutual termination just hours before the summer transfer window slams shut. It marks the end of a disappointing spell for the 20-year-old, who managed just 6 appearances in Pompey Blue since arriving last summer. His final game came in January's FA Cup defeat to Wycombe, after which he largely disappeared from the first-team picture. Saarbrücken sporting director Jürgen Luginger was delighted to land KAMARA, despite earlier rumours linking him with a move to France's second tier. Abdoulaye brings high-level training and real potential, Luginger told the club website. We're confident he'll strengthen our squad and we're pleased he chose us. Pompey boss John Messinho kept things diplomatic. We appreciate Abdoulaye's contributions and wish him the best. Hopefully he can find his feet and get regular games under his belt. The Paris Saint-Germain Academy graduate, who spent much of this summer back in France and hadn't featured in any of Pompey's recent matches, seemed optimistic about his fresh start. Joining a traditional club like FCS feels right, KAMARA said at his unveiling. After speaking with the coach and sporting director, I'm convinced this is the perfect move for me. I want to help push the club toward the top. His new club currently sits fourth in Germany's third tier.
We will never know, will we? We will never know what went on behind the scenes with this young man. When you bring in a player from Borussia Dortmund, who spent the first decade of his footballing career, journey, call it what you will, with Paris Saint-Germain, then I think you're entitled to a little frisson of excitement. Now, there are Pompey fans who look for industry and commitment and work rate and muscularity and getting in amongst them in a Pompey player. And that's great. We need that. There are other fans who also look for one or two places in the team being occupied by players of class. And down the years, in recent memory and not so recent memory, we have had one or two or three or half a dozen players with sheer class. Sheer class, world class. You know I'm talking about for one. Now, was KAMARA likely to ever scale those heights? Well, we could only hope. And now we can only guess at two things. What is his true potential? And what did go wrong? And I think it's reasonable to characterise it like that. What did go wrong with life at Portsmouth FC for this young man? What little we saw of him, he looked as though he could be special. For a player that size, big lad, to have that much grace and potency. We've said in the past that there were times when the opposition midfielders stood off him for fear of him drifting round them. He had everything except the graft that would have held him in place on the pitch with the fans and probably with the Pompey coaching staff. But he seemed to want to be a languid player, a stroller. And we've had strollers. But somehow there was something a little bit more concrete about their contributions. So, farewell to him, and yeah, we generally wish him well. There will be Pompey fans who will say good riddance to bad rubbish, but most of us are kinder hearted than that. Onwards and upwards. Who's next?